Hey, thank you so much. So everybody can hear me? We're all good on that? Yeah?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. So I had to start out the speech with, how I have to start out the speech. My name is Aaron Cairo. I'm a sponsored skateboarder from the San Francisco Bay Area. Absolutely fell in love with it. I'm 37 years old now, and I'm extremely lucky to be able to continue to ride my skateboard and enjoy it the same way I did 27 years ago when I started at the age of 10. Skateboarding is unlike anything else. Really, we all know that. And I think that's why we all love it. And I think that's why we're all here. So I didn't want to belabor that too much, but I will. This is my speech from the heart. It's a little bit of my own personal story here. So I'm just going to get right into it. So I grew up in a very small town in Montana. It was around 2,000 people total. So very, very small. I think my graduating class was about 40 people. And when I was in the 8th grade, I started playing basketball, and we had a good team. The coach also coached the high school team, and he urged every single player to stay through high school because he felt, okay, we have a good team in 8th grade. You guys keep going. We'll have a championship team in high school, right? So, well, a few of us also skated. So his method of handling us was sort of like, don't ride a skateboard. You're going to be a loser. You need to quit doing that. You need to just play basketball. And so him and the band teacher sort of went in on us. And it's kind of this funny thing. If you take a teenager and you tell them not to do something, I think there's probably a number of hands that would go up on, you would probably be likely to do that thing at least once to try it out, see what it was all about. So I quit basketball and I never looked back. Skateboarding is so interesting because it's individual. It's you and a skateboard. You're not necessarily like going out to work with a coach. But now there's kind of an interesting facet. Some people are, and we'll get into that as well. But you generally do not have teams, a coach, or really anyone to help you learn the ropes. This can be both a plus and it can be a minus, as I will explain. Growing up skating, I loved going out all on my own and practicing. I used to watch the videos. I used to watch the Plan B videos with Rodney Mullen, and I would just replay the song in my head. Aerosmith, dream on, dream it till your dream comes true. And I used to just like listen to that and try everything I could do to mimic the tricks that he was doing, and absolutely loved it. And I think part of why I loved it is because it was my own. It was my own creative. It was my own thing. And it was that thing that I could go out without somebody saying like, great, now you're going to run another lap, which is fine. And I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just pointing out how interesting and different and individual it is, right? So learning new tricks and improving my skills, I would watch those videos and I would just go for it. And keep in mind, this was long before YouTube. I was watching these videos on VHS. The YouTube was not a thing. You couldn't just pop on the computer or on your iPhone and go, how to kickflip. So it was very, it was a whole different world. Whenever I had a problem in life or I had a fight with my girlfriend or I was stressing out over a test, I would grab my skateboard, I would step on it, push down the street, and all the problems would just magically float away from me. And I would just enjoy my time with myself there on the skateboard. So in team sports like basketball, it's different. You have a built-in system. It's literally built into the school system. It's like, okay, Johnny, great. Now you're in 8th grade. What would you like to do? Would you like to play basketball, football, maybe soccer? Choose your path. And I think it's super interesting. The majority viewpoint in the town where I grew up, and like I said, it is a small town, but it was like if you were a skater, you were automatically going to make nothing of your life. And that's kind of the thing that I want to look at and point out, because at the end of the day, we're interested in skateboard education, but there's an earlier step to skateboard education, because if you just go, great, I want to take all the skaters and I'm going to teach them, you'll quickly run into this thing where you go, well, there's not that many skaters. There is a lot of skaters, but compared to like how many people play soccer, for example, the numbers are very, very, very small. And there's different things that you'll run into with skating that you don't run into with basketball, soccer, the team sports that are like built into the school system. It's very, very different, right? So in my town, it was like, you're a skater equals you're a loser. You're a hoodlum. You're going to start using drugs. You're going to vandalize property. You'll probably join a gang. Like, it was like how far it would go was just pretty wild. So you can see there's a vast difference between the attitude of there's this healthy activity that can teach you so many positive attributes that will spill over into all different parts of your life, and something that will lead you into a life of crime. I just want you to just take a look at those two things and how vastly different they are. Healthy activity, teach you amazing life skills. It's awesome. You're on your own. You're pushing yourself, teach you persistence, reliability, make you like stick with your goals. And drug user, vandal, like man, it can go. But somehow these things in my town were like, boom. And I'm pointing out, this is my story. I'm not saying this is everybody's viewpoint or this is everywhere, but I think it's prominent enough that it is something to know. So it's so fascinating to me that riding down the sidewalk on a piece of wood with wheels could have so many negative things connected with it. I like to think that in the past 27 years, these viewpoints have changed and people are getting more accepting of skateboarding. I do think they are, but I also guarantee you that if you go to some towns, this same viewpoint will be there. You'll run into these viewpoints. You run into them online. You hear people talking about it. It's a fascinating thing. So I think it's something as skateboard educators, it's something to take note of, and I'll go into it further. So skateboarding education, in my mind, goes way beyond, okay, here, I'm going to teach you how to do an ollie, or here's my skateboard education program. Here's like step 1, 2, 3, 4, which all of those things are awesome and they're definitely needed. But why don't we take it back even before that? Why don't we ask the question, why skateboarding? Like, if you're a kid and you're in school and you're going through and you have the choice, soccer, basketball, tennis, volleyball, football, whatever, why should the person go, why don't you try skateboarding? What's different about that? If you simply talk about skaters, they already know skateboarding is great and they already caught the skateboard bug. That's why they continue to do it. They love it. The real trick here is to educate all of the non-skaters about it. If you can do that successfully, any program in any part of the world, no matter how well you teach, it will be successful. Just by pure numbers alone, it will be successful. So there are something like 8 billion people on the planet. In most major cities, there's several millions of people. And if you're doing a skateboard education program, you're looking at, I hope, trying to teach a good number of people, right? So part of that is you're going to have to figure out a way to take this core group of skaters in that metropolitan area of millions of people, and your core group of skaters might be 5 people. It might be 10. It might even be less. It might be you. It might be you alone. But the thing that I want you to understand is you alone as one single individual, if you're educating people about skateboarding, how cool it is, how positive it is, and how you can get out there and yes, you can push that message and change the lives of people, then that one will grow into 10, 100, 1,000, et cetera. It will go from there, right? So I was posed the question, how would you go about growing skateboarding in a scene that has a few dedicated skaters, but not too many people? I think it's a great question, and I think you're right on the correct path of how do we grow this scene. This is my personal goal in life. This is my mission. It is to push skateboarding into the world's largest sport. If you have not been tracking what the world's largest sport is, that's okay. It is currently soccer, and that is internationally the largest sport in the world. So part of me wonders, what would happen if skateboarding grew to that big and it was just this amazing positive thing, which is why I'm very lucky to be speaking to all of you guys today. So I'm going to illustrate this again with my hometown story because it's what I know. It's the little microcosm that I think is true in other parts of the world, and it does come true in a bunch of other places. So for me in 8th grade, after quitting basketball and going on my own adventure with this little piece of wood on urethane wheels, it was expected of me to turn to drugs and most likely not graduate high school at all. That was what society expected of me to do at that time. So what I actually did was I got straight A's. I graduated at the top of my class with a 4.0 GPA. I was sick of getting kicked out of everywhere and treated poorly as a skateboarder in my town. So I went to city council and I convinced them to donate land and $25,000 to build a skate park. I then wrote another grant for $10,000 and I oversaw the building of one of Montana's very first skate parks in Red Lodge, Montana, my hometown. I was awarded Youth of the Year. I did everything I could to change that preconceived notion of the high school dropout, the loser that I was supposed to become, right? And I think it's kind of interesting. It's also like, remember when I said in the beginning, I was like, if you tell a teenager, like, don't do that, like, don't ride a skateboard, that's bad. Well, they're gonna ride a skateboard. So I think it was kind of also my skateboarding rebellious nature that people were saying like, you're gonna be a loser. And I was like, okay, let me show you what I can do if I really put my mind to it. And it's not like I'm someone special or whatever. Every single person out there, every single one of you can do this if you just decide to do it. So back to the story. My skate park was completed my senior year, and shortly after that, I left for university and left the park behind to be enjoyed by the community for years to come. My parents, who still live in that area, would read the newspaper, and people from the town would write in, and my parents would mail me these newspaper clippings of people saying how their viewpoint of skateboarding completely changed. They thought skateboarders were vandals, whatever. I don't even need to belabor that point anymore. But you see how their viewpoint was so poor to skateboarding. And if they had a kid or a granddaughter that was like, Mom, can I get a skateboard for Christmas? What do you think they're going to be like? Yeah, sure. That's the thing to do. No, they're not. They're not going to do that. So you see how this viewpoint has to change. But when they actually saw, okay, there's a skate park, and they drove to the skate park and they looked, they saw kids helping each other, learning on their own, falling down, getting back up again and giving it another shot. These are things they're vital life skills that you can get and will get from skateboarding if you persist through and learn those tricks. And they're amazingly healthy, awesome activities, right? So the people in this town would go look at that at the skate park and then write in, which was very heartwarming for me. It made me feel so good, right? So it's interesting to know that from your own activity on your own, you can build a sense of community. So back to the thing of skateboarding is very individual. It's not a team sport. But from that individual activity, you form a group. It just sort of naturally happens. You go, okay, I love skateboarding. You love skateboarding. We are now friends, and you go to the skate park, you make new friends. It's really quite awesome. My best friends in the whole world are skaters. It's like I met them when I was younger or older or whatever, and we just jived, right? It's just something, you have this thing for forever. So fast forward 19 years, and that old skate park is run down, holes in it, needs to be rebuilt. So a person from the community there contacted me, person from city council actually, and they said, hey, we really need to fix the skate park. And I was like, so interesting that the community that hated skateboarding more or less, right, has now come to the realization that this is a healthy activity in this area and we need a better skate park because the ramps have holes in them. I mean, it's literally been like 18, 19 years since the park was built, right? So we came together again as a community and I helped them. I made videos and we fundraised and we raised $200,000 to upgrade the skate park. And just a couple months ago, that brand new skate park was completed. It's beautiful, all concrete, weather resistant. It can handle the intense heat of the Montana summers and the intense cold of the Montana winters. And people will be enjoying that skate park for years and years and years to come. So we did it all in the middle of COVID-19. A member of the city council told me that it was the only positive thing happening in the community, and it was bringing the community hope and something to work together on. Pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing change for that town to go from their viewpoint of what it was to what it is now. And if you were a parent in that town now and your kid said, hey, I would like to start skateboarding, seems really cool, I keep seeing it on the social media and I would like to try it, the parent might just say, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's get you some lessons. Let's get you some correct way to learn so you can enjoy and have fun with this, right? So awesome. So in this little town, the skate park became the talk of the town. People would have never have been interested in skating before. It wouldn't even have crossed their mind. And that's the thing I want you to think with. There's a lot of things to do in the world. There's video games. There's all kinds of things that are just pulling people's attention. But what are you going to be able to do in your community that's going to get skateboarding to cross their mind, to make them think, you know, maybe I should give that a try. That looks like fun. Let me give it a shot, right? So this same story can and needs to be repeated all over the world for skateboarding to grow. That's how we grow skateboarding. You get people interested in the idea of what would it be like to land that trick, and then you push them over into, here is all of the little bits and pieces of how to land an ollie, how to land a kickflip. And that's a whole nother talk. Oh, I could literally talk for hours on both of these subjects, but I just want to make it like, if we all take the attitude of let's change the viewpoint of the general public of skateboarding, there's going to be so many people coming into skateboarding. So skateboarding itself as an activity is sort of growing up. I don't know if that's just my opinion or if anybody else shares that, but that is my opinion. The fact that skateboarding is going to be in the Olympics, it really solidifies it as a real sport. It's no longer a fad or something that will go away, but a truly respected sport. I personally think that the Olympics will change everything for skateboarding. And just like the excitement of a new town skate park, it'll interest a ton of people all over the world to learn to skateboard. This is like in my small town of 2,000 people, they're getting excited about their local skate park. The Olympics for skateboarding is like, it's like doing that for the world. It's doing that for planet Earth. They're getting excited about skateboarding. And I don't know where I got this number from, and it might be totally incorrect, but I heard that the Olympics has a viewership of 5 billion people. I don't know if that's 5 billion views or actual people, but regardless, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people who hopefully are going to go, skateboarding looks so cool. Why didn't I try this before? Let's learn how to do it, right? So a small group of skaters who love skateboarding need to start talking in the community. They need to do things that are smart and help build up their reputation and excitement for skateboarding. You need to share your own stories about skateboarding, how it changed your life, what it did for you, why you love it, why you're doing it every day. Start a skateboard club, do a community service, write your story into the local paper, start a blog, a TikTok, a YouTube channel. Get the word out there about how amazing skateboarding is, get it into your community, and then when you have that interest in skateboarding built all up, you say, great. Now I'm going to teach you how to ollie. It's interesting. A lot of people, they'll say, Braille skateboarding is so weird. Braille skateboarding is just this. They go, Braille skateboarding is the weirdest thing. They skate on iPads. They skate on chainsaw blades or whatever. Yes, we do a lot of interesting, weird videos like that because people in the world, general people, not just skaters, are interested in iPads and chainsaws. You see how we're taking the core group of skating and we're reaching out and we're saying, hey, you randomly came across this video where we skated on an iPad, which then got you interested into skateboarding, which then put you onto our tutorial videos, and now you learned how to skateboard. I cannot tell you how many times I would go to the skate park and they would say, hey, you're that guy who skated on an iPad. And I would say, yes, I'm that guy. And they'd say, well, thank you so much. You got me into skateboarding and it's changed my whole life. I started learning, I can do an ollie, and the stories just go on and on and on and on and on. But keep in mind, if all I was doing was talking to skaters, all I'm doing is talking in this group. I'm not going, hey, out there, come look at what we're doing here. So you got to think with like, what's happening in your local community? Oh, people are upset because the park is filled with trash. Take your group of skaters, go clean up all the trash, make a video about it, write into the newspaper, whatever it is that you're going to do to show that community, hey, skateboarding is cool, and more people will start getting interested and they'll do it, right? So one more interesting aspect to cover, or I think it's interesting in your community, is skateboarding is you have to work with skaters to allow them to be supportive of new people starting. This is a whole nother, so up until this point, I've only really talked about outside of skateboarding and their attitudes and their viewpoints and some ideas that you can do to handle that. And I hope that's sort of getting your gears rolling, right? What positive things you can create in your community on that. But we have the other aspect. We have the core group of skaters that are here, and they are not always so welcoming. You know, it's kind of funny. Nike made this commercial where some people are playing basketball and they're chased off the court. You might have seen it. It says something like, what if we treated all sports the way we treat skaters? So that's the outside of skateboarding viewpoint, and it's really interesting to handle. But what about the skaters themselves? What about that new kid that goes in to the skate shop and he's like, I'm here to get my first board. He could get anything from, you're a poser, what are you doing? Like it's sometimes even in our own group of skaters, we're not always the most welcoming group. So we also have to look at that. We also have to change that, right? You know, the kid gets a brand new board. He goes to the skate park and what does he get? Hey, poser, nice board. I bet you can't even kickflip. Of course he can't kickflip. This is his first day. What are we talking about? But if you started playing basketball, you wouldn't get a brand new pair of basketball shoes and go to the court and be bullied and humiliated. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So of course we have our sort of like our rites of passage into skateboarding and whatever, and all that's fine, and it can be in good fun and whatever. But you do have to think, if you're trying to make more people skateboard, you're trying to grow the thing that you love. This is the thing that I always found so fascinating, is some of the absolute most passionate, they live and die on the skateboard. They skate every single day. But then a new person comes around to ride a skateboard and they're like, loser, you haven't been through what I've been through. But it's interesting because even they started there. There was a time when they couldn't ollie, didn't know what to do, didn't, and they had to have somebody help them, guaranteed. Especially if it was before YouTube and the internet. Now it's easier. You can just search how to kickflip, and it comes right up. There's tons of videos, right? And that's what I do. That's how I personally teach, and I love it. So I just think that's so interesting. So take a look at your own scene as well. So as at the same time as like bringing new people in, also take a look at the skaters in your community, and if you can, do things with them to even just like whatever, talk about, guys, maybe we don't need to call everybody posers. Maybe we can be more welcoming. We don't have to do the whole gatekeeping thing. This fosters an environment that supports and encourages new skaters. It's super, super fascinating. So I personally have not yet crossed the road of how do we add skateboard curriculum to every single school? But I think that we have to do this, and I think we have to do it fast. Because like I was saying earlier, what if you went to school and you had the choice? Well, you could play basketball, soccer, tennis court, or we just built a brand new skate park. You could be on the school skateboard team. Wouldn't that be like crazy? One time I was in an airplane and I was flying over all these towns, and I would look down and I would see a school. And it would be a school that has a football field, sometimes a baseball field, and it would have a place to play basketball. And I thought to myself, what if every single school had a skate park? And it was part of the curriculum. You can learn how to skate. Okay, you had a rough day. You didn't pass your math test, or you're studying for it. You're super, super stressed out. Grab your board, go to the skate park, roll around, get your attention off of your math test, and then go back and give it another crack. That's what I did. It helped me so much. And like I said, I learned skills from skateboarding and put over into my life. And I was able to graduate at the top of my class. I was second in the class. I was the salutatorian, and I graduated with a 4.0. So this is just my own personal viewpoint. This is the look into the future. I would personally love to see this occur. It is my personal mission. We teach skateboarding all over the world by using the internet through video media and just getting it out there and putting that positive message out there. I really want to thank Joe from the U.S. Skateboard Education Association for having me, and for all of the amazing work he is doing to push skateboarding all over the world. I feel like in this conference, we have a lot of very like-minded individuals. I want to thank everyone who is helping other people learn to skateboard in any capacity for your hard work and dedication, and anyone who has ever picked up a skateboard and improved their lives. I think it's absolutely amazing. So thank you, each and every one of you. If you have any questions for me, you can shoot me a direct message on Instagram. You can do it right away. My handle is @AaronCairo. So @AaronCairo on Instagram, you direct message me, and then those messages will be right there, and I can knock them out. Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry, I haven't really been paying too much attention to the chat. I just sort of wanted to give you my talk there. So I hope that inspired somebody, and that'll help you guys. Help me with my goal to push skateboarding all over the world. So again, thank you so much.
Aaron, thank you. That was excellent. You covered so many bases of, I think, what's important right now and on people's minds, from safety in skateboarding to education to the Olympics. I mean, and it's interesting. You said you think the Olympics or skateboarding will change the Olympics. How do you think that'll happen? What does that look like?
Yeah, like the Olympics will change skateboarding. I
kind of think
the other way around. Both
Maybe
ways.
Both. It might be both.
Well, it's fascinating. Well, I think it's going to bring a lot of new people into skateboarding. And I think that it's going to be an explosion, the likes of which we're not ready for. Like I'm in a way, I think the Olympics getting pushed back a year is a little bit of a blessing for skateboarding, because I think we hit this huge tidal wave and the industry was like, whoa, what's happening? And then we're like, great, we have a little bit of a year to prepare for this. But yeah, so yeah, how will it change the Olympics? That's a good question. I don't even know if I know enough about the Olympics to answer that. But a bunch of us like going in as like, we're individual skaters and we do our thing and going in there. One thing that Andy Anderson pointed out to me is he was like, all of the other sports, and it's even kind of funny to call skateboarding a sport. I'm kind of careful.
Yeah, right. Right.
Lifestyle, art, whatever you want to go. But he pointed out to me, he was like, the skaters, it doesn't matter where they're from, Brazil or whatever, when they go to eat, they all eat together. And if you're playing some of the other sports, they never eat together, because they want to specifically keep it separate, because it's like, oh, you might pick up on something or get into their head or whatever. Right. There becomes all this like other type of stuff. When in skateboarding, it's kind of like, you can do a 540 or you can't. Like, yeah, maybe you were eating the burger and your friend said something that made you second guess your 540s, but probably not. Like, you know, it's different.
Breaking down those secret barriers of training. I think that's awesome. I think there was a question that came up that I thought was really good, if you don't mind answering it. And that is, how do you inspire kids just to go out and skate? You know, because with the Olympics and all this energy and focus put on there, there is a new focus on parents seeking instructors and coaches and that kind of thing. But do you think kids will still just go out and skateboard? And how do we inspire kids just to go pick up a skateboard and figure it out on their own?
Yeah, you just give them like a push. You just say, do it. It's some, you know, it's very simple actually. You just do that. There's this one story I'll tell you. There was this kid. I went to London and I was like I'm gonna do a little meetup, and I put it on Instagram, and I went to the skate park, and there was like 1,000. It was insane how many people were there. And I walked up, and the first kid ran up to me and he says, Aaron, I've been trying to do a 360 flip down the set of stairs for over an hour. And I like grabbed him and I said, do it. You can do it. And he pushed back and he rolled up to the stairs and he 360 flipped, landed, broke his board, and still rolled away. And this crowd of kids picked him up into the air and they were like, yeah! It must have been like the greatest day for this kid's life. I thought it was so interesting though. A lot of times people will come to me and say, how do I kickflip? And I'll just go, just do it. And then they'll literally just land it right then. And yes, sometimes they need instruction, but it's also so interesting that how many times they just need encouragement.
Yeah, right.
And it really makes me realize in a lot of their lives, they don't get it. They don't get encouraged. It's a very sad thing, but you know, so just the simple encouragement of like, yeah, go do it, grab a skateboard, go out, have fun.
Well, you know, there's that moment when because, you know, I would consider myself to be a very low level skater. I love it. I skate. It is what it is. But man, there's that moment when you're trying to learn something where you've just beaten yourself up for hours and hours and reps and days and maybe months, right? And or longer in my case. And there's that moment where someone like you comes in and you're known, you're respected, and you give that shot of belief and self-confidence just by being there and believing in that person. I tell people all the time that the biggest, probably the most important thing a coach does, or a mentor or a helper or a friend, is just to make sure that the student, the other person, knows that they're believed in. I mean, if you believe in them, then they got to keep going. It's like, then you got, and all that hard work is going to pay off because now you got someone else believing in you. It's huge. It's a big thing.
Yeah, it's where skateboarding goes from being an individual thing to being a team or group like activity. Yeah, I do the same thing. I have to, like, you know, the other day I was trying to learn a trick, same thing. It was just, I was doing it for hours. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to FaceTime my friend. And I'm like, dude, I need you. Like, just tell me I can do this. Sometimes I say, tell me I can't do it. And that makes me more motivated to want to do it or whatever. But it's just becomes that group thing. I think it's also another interesting aspect that with the Olympics, then you do start to have coaching, and it becomes even more positive. You know, like 10 years ago, professional skateboarders were like, they would get injured and they would go on a drinking binge until they were healed, literally. And this is not even from my own experience, but from other people saying, and now they get injured, they go to the physical therapist, they're stretching, right. They're doing yoga, they're eating healthy, and they're putting this on their social medias, and they're saying like, you better live a healthy lifestyle if you want to keep going.
That's awesome.
It's rough out here. It's a positive. It's great.
There was one more question that I saw, and it was, a question kind of about skateboarding the right way. Is there, in your mind, because my answer, I give you my answer. I don't think there's a right way. I think there's just skateboarding, and there's all these pathways that lead to fun, right? And fun is fun. If it feels good, you keep doing it because it feels good. That's all the motivation you need, right? So the question for you is there a right way? And will Olympics and lessons and coaching force people to follow one role, kind of like, I don't know, Tiger Claw style Kung Fu or something, right? Like, are they going to have to follow one image, or is it still just a creative expression?
Yeah, great question. This is why I don't always like saying skateboarding is a sport, or don't even like comparing it to that. If you want my personal viewpoint, it's more of an art. You have a blank canvas, and you're going to take some paint, you're going to smatter that on the thing, and you're going to smear it, or you're going to like learn the technical details of how do you take every bristle of that brush and make a perfect little thing. You have so many different artists. You have Picasso, you have realists. The skateboarding is similar. So yes, and it's kind of interesting because the Olympics, man, we're filming this amazing documentary with Andy Anderson, who's one of the most unconventional skateboarders in his journey toward the Olympics. And he says this thing, he says, he's like, I love doing the weird tricks.
Yeah, right.
And I would love to be on that world stage doing the weirdest tricks. But I'm not going to, in order to get there, I'm not going to be able to do that. But once I'm there, the weird tricks are coming out. Because, so interesting. We got to speak with the head of the Olympic coaches, and yes, in order to run a contest, you do have to sort of have a standardized system of like, how do you judge like a kickflip indie or a 540 against like an old school like trick that you do on the coping? Like, how do you can't really judge them, because it's like trying to compare Picasso to a realist painting. It's right. Just not, you can't.
Right. An old reference would be like the comps in the 80s with Christian Hosoi and Tony Hawk, and Hosoi going huge, and all the style, and Tony being so technically perfect. It's like they didn't know what to do.
Exactly. And it's kind of like, well, some people love that and some people love that. And it doesn't, it's an art. It's a form of art. Yeah. And if you love it and it communicates to you and it puts something in you, it drives that passion, then great. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. Well said. Joe, did you have any questions you wanted to ask Aaron?
I just want to thank you for being such a neat archetype. You're from a small town in a not very populous state in a very big country, and you followed your passion. And I might be, I'll push you a little bit on this one. You failed as a pro skater. I mean, I heard you say that, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. There's no.
Look at how successful you are. You stuck with your passion. And I think that you are definitely the most prolific teacher on the planet, and we're here. Thanks for encouraging us to go along and join you in this mission and this passion. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, we need all the help we can. It's an army of people. Like, there's so many people to communicate with, and it's awesome, and it's going to be amazing. And we're living in wonderful times right now with where we're headed in skateboarding.
Yeah, it's
right
true.
on. So I'll lift the lift the curtain a little bit on what's going to be coming soon. We're going to have the Ollie guru coming on. He's a guy whose job is to study the Ollie. And he is going to be working with, talking with Chris, and Chris is a professional coach. He teaches everything from Olympic level snowboarders all the way down to beginning kids in the skate, in the basketball courts next to his house. And he loves to teach, and he's always breaking things down. And he's working with all skateboarders, trying to gather techniques to make it easier for people to learn the Ollie. That was something you brought up. So I hope you get a chance to see that. And if Braille's interested in working with us on that, we would love to, work and just gather the ideas and see if we can help more people learn the Ollie.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Our goal is to help you learn how to skateboard and understand more about skateboarding. If this video helped you, be sure to hit us up in the comments below and tell us what you'd like us to focus on for our next video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and then subscribe to our channel and tell your friends all about us. If you'd like to learn more about the United States Skateboard Education Association, please visit www.ussea.us, where you can learn more about how to skate, learn more about helping others learn how to skate, and become a certified skateboard coach.